The hero's party has finally defeated the Demon Lord, but they believe that their knight has fallen. Except during his funeral, he awakens alive and well. And as they're celebrating on their victory, he proposes to the cleric in the party, who he's been in love with from the beginning. But as the two of them embrace for the first time in what feels like forever, he finds himself bursting into flames. Well, what the heck is going on here? As it turns out, he is an undead. A curse left by the Demon Lord, a proof that perhaps the Demon Lord is still alive to some capacity, and that they may not have succeeded like they originally thought. So he cannot actually be touched by the cleric, since she is emitting holy magic. And the only way for them to undo this curse is to find the Demon Lord, unravel the secrets of what exactly happened on that day. So they set out on a journey to undo the curse as the two of them expand on their newfound relationship. And that is the introduction of Necromance. Now, that's just the first chapter, and when I first read it, I was so sold. It has everything that I want. It has a nice romance where they're starting off in a relationship, and it also has a fun premise with the romance, kind of giving it a reason for not progressing at this stage, despite them both knowing that they like each other and would like to marry each other. It opens the door up for a lot of comedy, of course, with the fact that he can't touch her, but he really wants to touch her, and vice versa. Furthermore, we get a nice demon-killing plot. We're gonna go defeat the Demon Lord and find out to what extent he is still alive. The art is fantastic, very expressive, and I was so surprised to see that the action pages for this manga were actually pretty well done, considering that it has somewhat of a comedic premise. We got fantasy, action, romance, comedy. I'm all in. I'm like online looking up where I can find the box set to this manga series, and I've only read chapter 1. I went in to this manga series with the highest of expectations after reading the first chapter. But as it turns out, the first chapter is just a really good short story. And then when you keep reading, you just get more and more disappointed. I've honestly never seen a manga series that has taken so many misdirections as this one. It's baffling. It's like this fantastical case that you must study so you know what to avoid. Because like I said, this has everything going for it, but it overall just spirals out of control. So where exactly does this go wrong? Well, in order to understand that, we have to continue the story. What better way to continue it with chapter 2? So with chapter 2, while they're sleeping, they get attacked by a succubus. Now the main character, being an undead now, is actually not affected by the succubus trying to life steal from him in his sleep. So he's just like actually having a wet dream and she's not getting anything out of it, which is kind of funny. Then we proceed to have a pretty well done action scene that ends with him about to kill the succubus, but instead holding back. And that's the first red flag of the series, because he sympathizes with the fact that she is a woman and that she's crying because she knows that she lost and is about to die. And he's like, I don't want to kill the poor demon woman. I don't want to kill you. This is a mistake. You must always kill demons. Deus Vult. But seriously, she's kind of rapey. You probably should have killed her. It's not even as though she had good intentions for life stealing from people in their dreams. She actually is, like, kinda evil. So instead, they actually allow her to join their adventuring party?
Why?
And she can turn into a cat. And she's in love with the main character now, who almost killed her. He almost kills her, and she's like, oh my god, I love you. There's also some hints that the mage girl in the party has some leftover feelings for the main character, so this very quickly turns into a harem. You have a plot where he gets engaged in the first chapter, and somehow you want to turn it into a harem? Are you out of your fucking mind? Yeah, obviously I hate this, but this is not the worst. This is not the worst that it gets. This is just the start of the absolute unraveling of this series. So the next chapter, the succubus gives them some insight by leading them to a monster shopping center where like all the monsters and demons just like do their shopping. So pretty parody-like in its execution there. And they end up meeting another undead who is sentient, and he buys this object that allows the undead to resist holy damage, which obviously the main character wants because then he can touch his fiancée. So they follow the undead guy into the cave where we find out that there's a whole community of sentient undead people. But part of the reason why he wanted this enchanted item is because they are... wait for it. They're being attacked in this cave by... robots. Robots. Fantasy universe. Let's just throw in the robots. So long as we're on the topic of fantasy, let's not forget about my fantasy comic, Reaper! Launched March 1st, we have the Indiegogo campaign ready for you to back. If you are into dark fantasy, if you want to see an action-y premise with a gritty aesthetic about capturing souls for power, then you definitely are going to want to check out Reaper. It is going to be a book-by-book series that I'm hoping to start, and now is the time to jump on with Book 1, The Cursed Castle. So please go check that out if you haven't already. I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you, thank you. And for more comics of mine and other people that I've published, check out burningstarcomics.net. Now onward with the review. Not even just robots, they're holy damage robots? I don't know, man. It don't make any sense. Even if you wanted to say like, oh well, the church has like really advanced technology and that's why they're able to make robots in this fantasy universe, so that's why they have like holy damage robots or whatever. Yeah, sure, that's fine. If you want to explain it like that. They didn't explain it like that, but if you want to do part of the writing work for the writer, yeah, sure. Why would they send the holy damage robots to a random cave that nobody knows about, filled with sentient undead beings? Even the heroes party, who is responsible for defeating the demon lord, even they don't know about this cave or about the holy damage robots. I think they could have used some of those holy damage robots when they were fighting the demon lord. Why didn't the church hook them up with that? Why are they using these robots in some random cave? We never see those robots again, by the way. This is the only time we see holy damage robots, and they're being used for such a useless mission. So, like, the cleric character is very upset because she obviously doesn't think that this much aggression should be held against the sentient undead community in the cave. So she ends up fighting the holy damage robots. The craziest part is that she solos them. It's like nobody else helps her fight the robots. She does it all on her own, and she's also naked. But once again, like, this also doesn't make any real sense when you think about it, because she exclusively does holy damage. Why are the holy damage robots not immune to holy damage? That's like making a flamethrower out of wood. So the manga is just like progressively getting more and more parody-like. I mean, the fact that I'm even saying holy damage robots, it feels like a parody. We've entered Shrek universe. It's very non-committal, it's very parody-like. It's not at all what it felt like in the first chapter. We've gone a completely different direction here. And of course, when they do get the enchanted item, they can only use it for like a little while and then it breaks. She also gets really unnecessarily upset at him for having like desires to progress their relationship any further. Never mind that they're engaged. I guess it makes sense that she's like a cleric and that she was raised by the church, and so she is extremely innocent in that sense, and perhaps maybe has a little disgust for people who are a little bit more vulgar. Later on, they actually have kind of a funnier chapter that I actually really enjoyed, which is when they accidentally take some truth serum potion and they just start uncontrollably blurting out their thoughts. They're like looking for perfumes, and the main character picks up one and he's like, "Oh man, that smells really good. I'd like to pour this on your breasts and rub my face into them." And it's just like such a funny, unhinged thing to just blurt out randomly. When she has like the very extreme reaction to that and be like, "Wow!" That scene actually made sense. That scene was actually really funny, but it doesn't make up for the boatload of bad chapters that this manga series has. There's also a chapter where they go into this secluded elf village where nobody has been able to get inside except for the main characters, and all of the elves there are women. So they're worried about their species dying out if they can't leave the barrier. Instead of turning to the main characters to help them get out of the barrier and help them find husbands out there in the real world, instead they kidnap the main character and try to rape him. That's not how I would have written that, but okay. They don't hold any of these people responsible for their actions. Just like the succubus lady, they don't care that they're rapists. It's actually spun to be like somewhat of a comedic thing because the elf who tries to rape him doesn't know what to do or how to have sex. That's supposed to make it okay. She wanted to rape me, but she didn't know how, so I guess it's fine. Before I tell you the ending, though, I'll add another compliment to the manga. They set up the church in a way that they can actually communicate with God, and the cleric character, she actually has a scene where she speaks with God. And I never thought I would ever say this about a manga series, especially not this manga series, but I actually kinda like their interpretation of God. It's not perfect or the most respectful interpretation, but it's kinda fun, I guess. So first of all, I like the idea that the priests and the clerics can actually talk to God. That makes the most sense. And when she goes to talk to God, he's kinda shown to be a very caring father figure, or overly doting father figure to her. He seems genuinely excited to talk with her and have tea with her. And he's a little bit goofy, but it's not goofy in a way that makes God seem stupid. It's more so goofy in a way that he's just a big love bug. So there you go. There's one very rare compliment that I can give to this series. But let's talk about the ending of the series. Obviously, this manga got cancelled, as you can imagine, because it was just all over the place not knowing what it wanted to be. Did it want to be a parody? Did it want to be an action fantasy? Did it want to be a romance? Did it want to be a harem? I don't know. I don't know what this author was trying to do, because it feels like it was just constantly spinning in different directions every which way. Now, a lot of the time when a manga is getting cancelled, they're given a volume to try to wrap things up. Sometimes they're even given 2 volumes notice, right? I don't know how much notice this mangaka had ahead of time. They didn't try to end the series by pushing forward, the reveal of the Demon Lord or having them fight an important figure or anything like that. They ended the series with a swimsuit competition, which is probably one of the most insulting things you could have done. I'm talking, we went full Shrek. They have a stage and lighting, and so yeah, absolutely useless final chapter, not even worth reading. They left it as open-ended as possible while wasting your time. So when it comes to the series Necromance, really it feels like the only thing I can recommend to you, personally, is the first chapter. Because the first chapter is as good as it gets. And that's why it was cancelled, because there must have been a lot of readers out there who were also feeling the same way when we were reading chapter after chapter of just time being wasted. And I feel bad because I really like this premise. I really genuinely like this premise. It could have been great. It wasn't. There are things that I like about the series. Even like outside of chapter 1, there are little like tidbits here and there that let me know that the creator had the potential to make it good. It's just a shame because it went off into multiple different directions, and none of those directions were really the right direction. They should have just focused more on the main romance, focused on like killing monsters. That's such an easy thing to write into a series. You don't need like these extra twists of, oh well, the monster is actually sentient and they're a good guy now and they're gonna join the party. Oh well, all these undead guys are actually sentient and they're good guys and we gotta protect them now. You don't need all these dumb twists. All you need is demon killing and progressing the romance with the main character's fiance. That's all you needed to make this series work, and you didn't do that. You had the simplest job in the universe, you didn't do it. Unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and that's why I say you should read more of the series than the first chapter to know if you can really recommend the series, because this happens quite often. And there's also series out there where the last chapter can ruin the entire series, and that happens quite often. Remember to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Program restart.